Hello, this is Rumor, and my desk and surrounding area is insane right now. I am aiming to do 3 different videos from this spot, so I've compiled mountains of decks around me, and you're probably going to be seeing me in the same stupid hat and sweatshirt through all the videos. Apologies in advance, but all right, so what am I doing here? First video I'm going to try is in response to Lisa Papez's top 22 tarot, and oh my god, I actually forgot if that's what it's called. I literally just had to check YouTube on my phone to remember what the tag was. I am so prepared. Top 10 tarot 22. Is Lisa's hashtag for this. So I am ranking, very rough order, my top 10 decks that entered my collection in 2022. And I mean, where the ranking goes, folks, this is very rough. I am never good at putting things in order and choosing favorites even necessarily. It's a struggle for me. So this is just very, very loosey-goosey how I've ranked them. Not accurate. But I was looking through all of the decks that I acquired last year, and I am keeping it to tarot because there were a lot. And so I don't know, maybe I can try the tag separately with Oracle. I do not know. But it actually put me in a mood to do an entirely separate video just to show the other decks that came in last year, because in the process of getting my list together for this one, I kept wanting to bring other ones in for like honorable mention, like, oh, but I really like this one too. I just haven't had a chance to work with it enough. And that stack just kept getting higher and higher, so I decided I'll just do a separate video to show the rest of the decks that came in. But again, I'm going to limit it to tarot. I really don't have it in me to get it all out. But there were so many honorable mentions, and a lot of folks will probably find this super annoying, that what I ultimately decided on, there were several decks that were sort of tied for this 10th position in the ranking. Ones that probably will soar higher in my esteem as time goes on and I work with them more and I have the opportunity to bond with them more. They are ones that I readily knew that I liked a lot, and have the potential to really love, just didn't work with them enough. So rather than trying to pick amongst all of those that were kind of like falling in the same level for me, I decided to just keep it simple. Got in here good old classic Rider-Waite-Smith. This is specifically the Pamela Coleman Smith RWS deck, which has a much more subdued tone than you often see. Very gray, very taupey. That could turn some people off who like vibrancy, but I love this. Dawn Michelle was recently talking about her palette cleanser decks and the ones that she likes to use when she just sort of needs to, I guess, just kind of like refresh and kind of get a nice clean slate. I immediately thought of this deck. Like, RWS just in general would be a reset deck for me if I'm ever just feeling like, okay, I just want to strip things back down to basics and just work with the classic imagery. I think for RWS, this is even more of a palette cleanser just because it has the soft, cool tones to it. And it really is just kind of like eating shaved ginger before I choose my next piece of sushi to pop in my mouth. Okay, everyone knows this deck. I don't have to show too much, but I'm not sure if I showed the backs of it. But again, I just freaking love the color tones in this. And I really like the pouch that I bought for it. I found this on Etsy. Yeah, it's just become this like cozy thing that I keep downstairs, just accessible in my living room. Can do obviously any kind of reading with it. I've pulled it out for really serious readings. I've pulled it out for really light ones. It's just like that deck that I like to just have there and ready for whatever. And if I don't feel like running upstairs to my collection, but okay, so that would be number 10, I guess. Number 9, again, I don't feel totally comfortable with these rankings, but I won't make a thing of it. It is what it is. I put them in an order, not thinking about it very much. But at number 9, I'm going with another sort of palette cleansing deck. And this is in a very, very cute crocheted pouch made by Amanda at Venus and Virtue. I bought this from her Etsy shop, which I'll link below. And I have used it to house my Tarot Decarlotides, which I acquired very early in 2022. And this is just such a sweet, simple deck. It's a small, oh, now that I've put the Rider-Waite-Smith away, I wanted to show for comparison. Let's see. Okay. So if we're looking at standard size there. So it's just very clean and sweet, and also a nice soft color palette, but there is more color going on than in that other version of the RWS. But this one can follow RWS interpretations. It also goes its own way. It goes through different points in history, it seems, across different cultures. There's not like a real common theme across all the cards, I would have to say. There can be some sense of like fairy tale in it, pop culture references. Just, I don't know, it's kind of a mix, but I like it a lot. It still feels very cohesive, having said that. And I just feel like it's a very nice, clean, straightforward deck. And so how many more times am I going to say the word clean? But whatever. And I'll say sweet again too. It's sweet. So I like it. I feel like it's a good one. This is one that I keep in a box by my tarot table because I feel like it's a good all-rounder deck. Like I could use it for any sort of readings, general readings. Just feel like it's got a versatility there. So then number 8, I guess, even though these numbers really don't mean anything, I've got to go where the light is. I've got to bring some levity into it. Tarot of Curious Creatures. Such a divisive deck. This is where you really figure out who on TarotTube can make space for a human body with an animal head and who absolutely cannot. Who is probably unable to even look at this right now and either hitting stop or skipping ahead. But I don't consider myself in the camp of loving animal heads on human bodies either. I've never thought that, and there's a lot of other decks that I've seen that and been immediately like, no. Whether it's creepy or I just kind of don't understand the point of it. But this deck somehow is the exception for me. I just feel like there's something about it where I feel the animal spirit does really come through, but in a way that it wouldn't be the same to just have the animal with its own body in the picture, like having it connected to the body, the human body, and just the coloring that's used, the fashion that's incorporated, the body language. it all comes together to communicate it in a completely different way than just having a human or just having the animal and its spirit coming through would convey. And so I just feel like it really ties things in. It just brings this connection in for me between humans and the natural world that we are also a part of. And it's very easy to forget that when we are in our contemporary suited up lives. You feel that detachment, and I just feel like it kind of communicates a oneness there and how these animal vibes can come through in our everyday mundane lives. It's really good at giving that feeling of sort of an everyday normal life situation for as not normal as these characters clearly appear. And the guidebook is great. It does a wonderful job explaining the rationalization for why a certain animal was chosen to convey the spirit of a certain tarot card. And it's just bright, but you can ask it serious questions too. I don't think it's something, it's not novelty to me at all. Like, oh, this is just fun, I'm just in the mood. I mean, of course I would bring it out being in a mood for something light and bright, but you can ask it anything, I think, and it gives a serious, clear reading, but it just does have this nice, bright vibe to it that can deliver those messages with a gentleness if you need it, and just in a reverence to kind of lighten the mood and keep your spirits up and keep you in good humor so that you can trudge through some tougher times, some conflicts. And it's just fabulous. I just love the fashion, and Chris-Anne did such a good job seamlessly attaching these heads to these bodies, and the color of the skin matching the animal's fur or reptilian skin, as it were, how it's all carried through. It's just almost believable that these are real creatures. And there's such movement and personality, and that's it. I will definitely start to get even more repetitive if I continue on with that, but I just love it. Probably the only deck, though, with the animal heads on human bodies that I'll ever own. Truth be told. I just feel like it's special. Okay, so what is this? 7? Keeping within the levity. I'll be honest, I actually would like to rank this even higher. I think this one could at least be in the top 5, if not 3 for me. So maybe I'm cheating, but... And I also don't mean disrespect towards the decks that have more of a levity. I like to say, like, oh, it's only the serious ones that you can do for very serious and deep readings that are of more value and therefore should be ranked higher. I don't mean to be communicating that message at all. I guess I did reserve, though, my top decks for the ones that just were the most, like, for me, kind of hardest hitting and went to really, really, really deep and important places and just had a very soulful impact on me. And so for that reason, very personally, I reserved them for that. But even personally, I want to put this one a lot higher up than it is. Freaking love it. It's out of season right now. Oh. The Trick-or-Treaters Tarot. That's right. I'm putting it in my top 10. I love it. 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 I had still have the Trick-or Tarot by Duck Soup, and I shared that in my What's in the Bag video where I went through the spooky decks that I will use around Halloween, Samhain. So I really did not need another Halloween deck in the collection, or did I? Even when I saw this one initially advertised, I was like, no, I've got my Halloween deck. I really don't need another one, and I've got plenty of other spooky decks. I'm already overwhelmed at that time, feeling like I'm not giving them all as much love as I want to individually. And then I saw Lisa Papez walk through this, and I ordered it probably before the video was even over, and I'm so glad that I did. I edged mine in the orange and purple. Of course, it doesn't stay looking like that once you shuffle it up, but it still looks cool. This deck makes me so happy. I can't even tell you. And obviously, I don't know, does anyone use it not at Halloween? I have no plans to use it at any other time of year than October. But if you did watch my video on my Halloween and spooky decks, I had a rant, okay? And I could have edited it out, but I left it in because the struggle is real. As an American living in the UK, where Halloween is just not as big of a deal, and even though it has grown since I've moved over here, for sure, there's much more of a presence for it, it's still different. People just still seem to celebrate it a bit differently, and it's not like trick-or-treating is everywhere. It's a real like mixed bag of Halloween spirit. And not that that's not the case in the US too. I know it's not like everyone's into it, but for the most part, I mean, at least from my childhood memories, most houses had a little something to offer when I showed up at their door, even if it was rusty pennies or toothbrushes. I get a good showing where I live now, which is very exciting. I'm very happy about that. So again, I can't say it's everywhere, but just like overall, and just the idea of the costumes too. You're expected to just wear things that are scary or gory. It really is just staying with a horror theme. Whereas like in the US, you can do anything. You can be an abstract concept. You can dress like a politician, a vending machine, like whatever you want to do. So I have been living over here for a long time without the ability to celebrate this holiday in the way that I knew and loved back in the States. And so this deck just made me feel like I was at a Halloween party, US style. And I knew how much I missed it, but I just felt it to my core. How much I missed that. And I love that it's like, it's showing, you know, all the background. Like it's showing that these things aren't real. Like that everything is very clearly a costume. It's just a lawn ornament. It's just decoration. Like it's not setting out to be scary or show any real monsters. Like this just feels so real to me. Someone who just kind of throws together a costume. Like she looks like maybe she was last minute invited to a party, and so she was able to muster that up. And with the kids, like you get the whole like adult element at the adult Halloween parties, but obviously there's a lot with the kids and the games and the festivals and the trick-or-treating. Like I said, it's a Halloween party in a bag for me, and I can't describe to you how much value that holds for my heart. So it's in my top 10, and honestly, like I said, I almost want to rank it higher than, I think it was number 6. Yes, I think that was 6. Okay, so getting into something a little bit, well, it's not super serious, but it sure can be. I keep it in this little nautical bag. And now I'm forgetting if it's wisdom of the depths or wisdom from the depths. I got this last summer, and it was another case where I was like, do I really need another oceanic deck? Because I have 2 mermaid decks. And now I have 3 mermaid decks. Holy cow. Yeah, as shown in another What's in the Bag video where I shared the oceanic and animal decks. I really didn't need another one to fill that space, but this just I couldn't pass up on the vintage vibe of it. I think I first saw this on Danny Mystic's channel. I just like that aesthetic. This is more of a collage-y, artistic rendition, vintage toned version of the ocean and ocean life and being by the seaside, but it's wonderful. It's just, I don't know what else to say other than I love that aesthetic, and it is beautiful. And I said before, it can very much be used for serious readings because I used it for a reading that I was going into it somewhat generally, but I guess I should have known that it was a reading that was going to just sort of give me a snapshot of my emotional landscape. So I should have figured that last year that would end up being something pretty deep. And this particular reading that I'm thinking of, I burst into tears. And that had never happened to me before. So I just like instantly connected with this deck. It just had insta meaning for me. I couldn't believe how clearly and meaningfully it was reading for me right out the gate. It was lovely to use for a reading centered on emotion with the water element so present and the depths of that ocean. There really is wisdom there that comes through in this deck. So it's just one of those, I know I'll love it forever. Do just like to use it in the summer, but I don't think it would feel too weird to bring out even now, you know, if I'm just kind of looking for those feelings. So where am I at? 5? Yes, 5. I've got another crochet pouch. These are the only 2 that I own. How fun that they're showing up in the same video. This one was made by Sarah at Sunset Bow Tarot. And I got this in the autumn to go with what at the time was a newly acquired Carte Postale Tarot deck. Which comes in a nice box. And speaking of vintage, as I said, I love that. That's my aesthetic. I think this was so well done with the vintage photos that were curated for it. And there can be added elements sometimes to lean more into the tarot definition. It's not like it's all just straight up photos. There was an element of design to them as well, some more than others, but just the handwritten font too, in conjunction with that, just lends itself to a real like handmade quality. It just kind of feels like you are going through a stack of old photos that you found in an attic. And this one I also bonded with straight away because I was using it for ancestor work. And I ended up not diving as deeply into that at the time as I was intending. So I haven't been hard hit by like a really, really, really intense reading with this, but it really gave me the sense though that even if I was just pulling 1 card or 3 cards, I felt like I was in, like the spirits of my ancestors were with me. It really did lend itself well to that and this sense of remembrance. I was using it around Thanksgiving, and it was just a real time, like a real poignant time of looking back and giving gratitude. So this gave faces, kind of voices to it too, in a way. even if my ancestors didn't look like the people in the photos. There was just something about it. I don't know how to explain it, but it just made me feel like I was in good company. So, what did I say? That was 5. So 4, I have the box for the full-size version of this deck that I think I technically bought it in 2021. The Gentle Tarot. So I have the full size, but the version that I bought in 2022 was the smaller, kind of playing card sized linen. Oh, it's so nice. That version. So I love the full size. This, I mean, I love even more just because of the linen, but it completely worth holding on to both of them. And this is a great size for me to travel with. And so this one is ranking very high. First of all, I knew that I loved the Gentle Tarot from my work with it the previous year. But this year in particular, I had traveled with it. It was just a time that I was home and front row center to a loved one's end of life transition over the course of weeks. And if ever there was a deck to hold my hand and heart through that time, this one did pretty darn well. I mean, being called the Gentle Tarot, that is what it is. It's very gentle. And it answered with such a clarity and sensitivity. It was perfect for what I needed. And it goes without saying, it's a beautiful deck. So, yeah, it's nice. I love it. So this is where I'm getting into the, harder hitting decks that just made such an impact. As far as from this one onward, I mean, it is really difficult to rank them. They've all ranked up there in importance to me. And the one I'm trying to fish out of its pouch right now took things to a whole other level. The Shimmering Veil. I think I got this at the beginning of last year, and I kind of was regretting it initially, because I just felt like I had impulse bought it. I was hearing a lot about it. There was just a lot of excitement around it that I just was like, oh, I'd been considering it ever since I first saw it at the Truth and Story. Kelly did a walkthrough along with other decks by this artist, and I do have the Book of the Dead Oracle as well that I use in conjunction with this. They live together in this pouch. And that would definitely be ranking high as far as the top 10 decks for this year. But like I said, I'm keeping it to tarot. It's just easier for me. But it is just very powerful. And I wanted the deck, and then I had gotten it, and then I was like, oh shoot, I just don't know if I'm going to be using it, because it occupies a very similar space to the soul cards, where you're getting more into this abstract art, where you're reading tarot more intuitively and very soulfully. And I just was worried I had created a redundancy. But then as events of the year transpired as they did, I realized that I actually was finding different use, like distinct uses for the soul cards and then these. Because it is actually nice. The soul cards don't have a structure. They don't have titles. There's not a guidebook to go with it. It's pure intuition. It is really nice to have something like this within the familiar framework of the tarot. So you can't get too lost in your interpretation if you're not automatically getting an intuitive hit, but I think you'd be hard-pressed not to with Scylla's artwork. And you know what's fun? Because I thought I had two spontaneously purchased this deck and the Book of the Dead Oracle, I had immediately sent an email to see if I could cancel the order. And Scylla herself responded that unfortunately it was too late, that whoever does the distribution, it was already in play. And I was like, oh, no, that's fine. I mean, they are definitely decks that I want. I was just trying to be disciplined and space out my purchases more. But I'm like, they're going to be treasured no matter what, so that's fine. But then we ended up emailing back and forth a bit because she originally lived where I do, like in my town outside of London. So I thought, that's so cool. I believe she's in Italy now. But I just thought, what a small world, and how lovely of her to contact me directly and share that. And so that made me feel connected to the deck straight away too. But I did just keep it in its plastic wrapping until you know, stuff happened through the year. And I found that I was using this a lot for dream interpretation because my brain was definitely trying to process a lot and had really weird ways of doing so. We all know how dreams can be. So these cards, their first main function for me was to help me sort of interpret and process a bit of that. And I've since used it, like for example, Dawn Michelle has her monthly medicine in her Weavers membership, and I pulled these out for the month where we were working with guides. Gosh, what a powerful month that was. And oh, would have been with any array of decks, but like for me personally, oof, really bonded me to these. And so I'm very much not regretting that purchase, and very grateful to Scylla for producing the artwork that she does. Okay, so number 2 and number 1 are kind of a team here because these are 2 that I use together. I have a separate table where I use these last 2 decks in tandem with each other, and I use them for grief work. So the Mysteries of the Black Madonna tarot deck. Now it is a tarot deck, but I use it more as an oracle. And I have, oh, here we go, guidebook that corresponds with it, where Hetien goes into a lot of detail with the particular Black Madonna that's being depicted in the image, in these little altars that she creates, these like little dioramas. They're so intricate, and so that's really fun to look at, to just sort of see what details jump out at you. But they are meant to depict actual Black Madonnas found throughout the world and different stories associated with that, and the history and what's known or at least speculated about these Black Madonnas. A lot of them actually trace back to figures from cultures and mythologies predating the Christian story. So you get a mix of Christian stories and other mythologies, deities, chock full of divine feminine, and it's that shadow side of that really called to me last year. And so when I was like in the thick of things, I wasn't going to get this because these decks are quite pricey, definitely more than I'm comfortable spending, and I already had the Mysteries of Mary deck, and I didn't know if it would be redundant, but like I said, I almost felt like I didn't have the choice. My soul was calling for this deck. And when the first card I drew from it was the equivalent of the 5 of Cups, I just thought, all right, this deck is already speaking to me. It was ready and willing to be there be of comfort and also just show, you know, hard truths, but the beauty that accompanies that. And especially because there's so much going on within each image, within each story to read about it, I do use it more as an oracle where I just really want to pull the one focal message and then sit with it. Okay. And then elaborating then on that overarching idea. The Somnia Tarot. Candy at Candy Soul and Soil just did a beautiful unboxing and walkthrough of this deck. Her artistic eye just will pull out these details. Like, it's new to her and I've been using it for a while, and she was coming up with these insights and seeing things and patterns that I hadn't even thought of yet, if I ever would have. So if you've ever been like, about this deck, but considering it, I highly recommend. I will link that to just see how her first impressions went. It just really shows you the potential power of this. And I think that there are very particular readings you would find you'd want to use this for. Not that you couldn't just use it for a general reading. It mirrors RWS very well, but I think it's just the somber tone, and I just feel like it's of this world and also not. And so when you're in a transitional phase, if you're working with shadow, whoop, it's tremendous. And it has helped me work through a lot of complex emotion and thought. So, the one that I dropped. I don't think it's a coincidence. Nine of Swords is the one that fell. This card has been stalking me a bit lately across decks. I feel like the 8 and 9 and 10 of Swords is where I live a lot. But anyway, yeah, it's great. So like I said, I have a special space set aside where I can just keep these last 2 decks out. It's just always there for me to look at and contemplate, and it just also feels like it's there for me, if that makes any sense. As someone who personifies decks, I do feel like these are my little friends, and they've been such a source of support. And so from 1 through 10 here, I love each and every one of these as a little pal that serves one purpose or other in my collection, gives me joy, solace, a whole spectrum of emotion represented there. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about having a collection of different art, of different tones, because you can get something that's just so serious to so silly. And it's fun, and they're of equal value to me. Like, both these decks, it really is hard to rank one above the other. So, all right, I will cut this off here because I already went on longer than I expected to with it. And as I mentioned, I'm also wanting to do a couple of other videos today. Whew, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So thank you for joining me today. Let me know if you have any of these decks, like any of these decks, hate any of these decks, what your top picks would be for 2022. If you want to do a video response, I encourage that. If you have done one, let me know and I'll go check it out. And yes, I hope that you're all doing well, and I am going to come back next probably with the other decks that I acquired in 2022 that were contenders for this, or some that just didn't even have a chance because I just haven't worked with them enough yet. So, all right, I'll leave it there. Bye.